I'm not a very confident person by nature, and that's just been my, personality for ever since I was a kid.
This team is just, they are on a straight line and they are not missing a beat.
But even the bone deep racers want a profit, because you look at the
Absolutely.
ring leaders of this is probably Denny Hamlin.
You never know when you're just going to have an off weekend.
I've kind of gotten the ability to have the platform that I want, and it is my platform, and I can speak to whatever I feel like talking about.
We were in the mix, and it makes it a lot more fun when you're in the mix than you are just struggling and trying to figure out what direction to go.
Yeah, it's tough, and sorry for being bouncy, the roads here.
It's like if you have, the all-you-can-eat buffet every single day of the week, people are going to get tired of it, right? So if it's a special thing, I think people get more excited for it.
Hi, Bo.
Raise your hand up so she can see it. There you go.
Truthfully, even as a company, I think it was, very head-scratching why at the beginning all four of us just went instantly straight to the back. We just really struggled.
Welcome on to the Backstretch. I'm News 5's Heather Williams, and it was another newsy week in the NASCAR garage. Of course, the biggest news is the most recent news. Not really a huge surprise, but Martin Truex Jr. announcing that he will retire from full-time racing at the end of the season. He's been asked each of the last, 2-3 years maybe, if this was going to be his last year. He is, with the retirement of Kevin Harvick a season ago, the oldest active driver in the garage area. I would still call him a kid. He's younger than me without giving away too much about my age. But he just decided it's time, and I get it. You reach a certain age and you start to think, I love this, but I don't want to do this every day. So I get it. It's grueling. It's a lot. He still likes racing cars. Denny Hamlin told the media on hand at Iowa that if he wanted to run the Daytona 500, he would have the car ready for him tomorrow to jump in and run at Daytona. So it also gives you kind of an idea of the respect that Truex has in the garage area from his other competitors. Martin's always been great for me to deal with. He's a little quiet, not like shy, but just quiet. He picks his spots. And I respect that. I do. Every time that you talk to me, has something incredibly thoughtful to say. So I appreciate that. And his presence is definitely going to be missed. He's one of those guys that just always on the racetrack did everything right. Didn't anger a lot of his competitors, won a ton of races, won a championship at Furniture Row Racing. I mean, when you put that into perspective, and I know it was, sort of an extension of a bigger team at that point, but he won a championship at Furniture Row Racing. That would be like today, I don't know, winning a racing at the Wood Brothers, a championship at the Wood Brothers. Can it be done? Sure. Do we think about it now? Not really, even though their equipment's really good, because that's generally where they put younger kind of developmental drivers or guys maybe on the back half of their career. But Martin left out of a ride after the whatever that happened at Michael Waltrip Racing, and he lost his sponsorship. He made the most of that situation and turned it into a championship. So good on him. That will be his legacy. We'll talk about this with Chris coming up a little bit later on, but certainly you would think a Hall of Famer down the road. Also, how about Kyle Larson? I mean, the man is leading the point and he missed a race. He spotted everybody in the garage area an entire race, and he is still your championship leader. So we're going to get into Kyle, and, is he the best driver in the world right now, with Chris as well. My guest this week, speaking of the best drivers, he was at least the best driver in the garage a season ago, your reigning champ, Ryan Blaney. I talked to him about what it's like going through this season as the champ, if he's still celebrating or if he's more focused on getting a championship this year, kind of the struggles that Ford has gone through the early part of the season. And of course, we will preview this first ever trip to the Iowa Speedway for the Cup Series cars. So let's get rolling. Joining us now is our crew chief, Chris Carrer, who's also the crew chief of the number 75 Food Country Truck in the Craftsman Truck Series. Chris, Kyle Larson wins at Sonoma and is once again the points leader, even though he missed a race. He's spotted him the whole race and he's still up front. Can anyone take down the 5 team this year other than the 5 team?
I'll tell you, the Sonoma race to me was just a power move. I mean, the way all the pit strategies played out, and he was, something like 13 seconds behind or whatever, and had a few laps, and everybody was like, I don't think he can get there, and he got there and plenty of time and just drove away. Man, this guy, this team is just, they are on a straight line, and they are not missing a beat. They got all cylinders firing. I think the guy's he's at a point in his career, he just got all the confidence in the world, and going out and winning races is just easy peasy for him. And he's got a team that usually, every race is flawless. You know, I think the only team that might be able to beat him, might quite possibly, is his teammate William Byron. You know, they're the ones, to me, are the top cats right now. So we'll see. It's still not quite middle of the season yet, not quite, almost, but we'll see. But man, this kid is something else. I mean, he is.
Is he the best driver in the world? Because
I think he is.
I see a lot of arguments from the F1 people saying he's not the best driver in the world. But to me, when you look at disciplines, different types of cars that he can get into, and the way he performs in all of them, I don't see how you can argue against it.
I don't either. And Heather, those type arguments to me is like, I don't really think it's fair on either side, either way, to argue are the best F1 drivers better race car drivers than a Kyle Larson or some, you know, because to me it's not apples to apples. That type of racing is not stock car racing, and stock car racing is not F1 racing. Me personally, I think it's harder to drive a stock car because you have to do more. The driver has to do more inside the car himself. He has to judge more things. He has to make more decisions than F1 drivers. But F1 drivers drive awfully fast race cars, and on little tight road course, street course, you know, and they're very talented. I don't know.
I mean, for me, it's not apples to apples either. But the reason why I give Larson the nod is because if you look at, he has driven Indy cars,
Yes.
which is a lot closer to F1 cars than
Yes, ma'am.
anything that anyone in F1 is driven to
Correct.
a NASCAR.
Correct.
So because he's been able to do that in all sorts of different cars, I just don't know how you don't give the nod to Larson.
I don't either. Now, me personally, if you said, okay, here's $10 million I'm going to give you, and we're going to have some kind of a series here in equal type cars, and you got to pick one driver, and we're going to run, I don't know, 10 races at all different racetracks, and other people are going to pick F1 drivers, IndyCar drivers, other NASCAR drivers, dirt racers, whoever, and I had anybody I could choose, it'd be Kyle Larson. Not even a question in my mind.
We just got to get Kyle Larson in a funny car now. That's the next thing for me.
Well, I'd say just stay tuned. It'll be, you know, because why wouldn't he?
Well, Tony Stewart's done it.
Tony Stewart's done it, and there's like the kid, I mean, I keep calling him a kid. He's a kid to me, but I mean, the young man is just, his talent and his ability to adapt and just it's just like his calm. It's just like, this is easy. I'll just go run 230 some mile an hour in an Indy car and what's for lunch, and then go to the World 600. And I don't know. It's so easy for him. I know a lot of people are jealous of that, and you know, rightly so. He's just got a tremendous amount of talent, and to me, when he gets in a race car, the deal is the whole world just slows down to a crawl around him. And most people, it's going by 230 mile an hour.
Right.
And to him, it's just like, okay, I see everything.
It's a Sunday
all right.
drive.
It's unbelievable. So anyway, good for him.
The Cup Series the team owners are apparently unhappy with the latest charter agreement, and now we're halfway through the season with no agreement signed. So how worrisome is this for the Cup Series?
I think it's I really do. I think it's very worrisome. The splitting up of what funding is coming back, and this being, keep in mind, is an entertainment business, okay? That's what it is. It's an entertainment business. Nobody's creating a cure for cancer or anything like that. But it is a very expensive entertaining business. And I hope that all the parties involved can find some common ground, because if not, you know, we may go into the off season with no agreement, like nobody on the same page, and that, I think that could lead to disaster. I'm hoping, I think that level heads will prevail and everybody will finally see, and when everybody thinks it's push time, I think they'll get it done. I hope they get it done. But you know, this is critical area here, and I know that I keep hearing stuff that the team owners are not satisfied. They're tired of having to, you know, labor and invest and wait for what they feel is a fair piece of the pie coming back, and knowing that that'll be there so they can feel comfortable with their own. We got a lot of race team owners that are, you know, getting on up in years, and then there's some coming in, and the some coming in are you know, they're more just plain old business people instead of bone deep racers. And I think that's a key element right now, because the Rick Hendricks, the Richard Childresses, the Jack Roush's, the Roger Penske's, even the Joe Gibbs, somewhat, you know, they are or have become real bone deep racers. They were racers first, and then you know, business people. When it came to racing, they were business people after they were bone deep racers, and now there's not that many of those left, and other ones coming in are like, hey, no, I'm a businessman here. I need to know that this is going to be a profit for me.
But even the bone deep racers want a profit, because you look at the
Absolutely.
ring leaders of this is probably Denny Hamlin.
I think so. And you know, Denny Hamlin, let's remember, came from a late model short tracking background in Virginia when he didn't have everything better than everybody else. He worked really hard. He had, you know, yeah, he had parents that helped him along, but you know, it wasn't like I've got an unlimited resource here. He knew that, like, they had to worry about paying the tire bill and paying the entry fee and paying the travel expenses and building a new car, and if it got wrecked, fixing it. And I guess what I was saying is the guys like Richard Childress is the first one that comes to mind. He was a racer, and he was willing to, there was times, you know, through his career that guys like this were willing to step back and say, okay, I'm going to invest, and I'm going to trust that this is going to pay back. And I'm going to do this because I'm a racer, and I want to race, and I want to see, I have a vested interest in this whole NASCAR thing and stock car thing. And those guys are now pretty far along in age, and they're looking for other people to take, you know, to take reins of their race team when they're not going to be able to. And a lot of the new guys coming in, even the Michael Jordan, take him for instance, example, you know, he wasn't raised as a race car guy. You know, he didn't have to scrub the buckets to pay tire bills. He's going to be looking at this, and other investors like, now wait a minute, what's the return on this thing? Why? What's the justification in me investing millions of dollars and putting, you know, what's my return? And when they don't feel like that return is fair, then they're going to say, maybe I need to do something else. I'm holding on to faith that it'll get worked out. Cooler heads will prevail when time gets more pressing. But that, Heather, we're in June.
Yeah, no,
we're in June.
The time is
the time is now.
Yeah.
The time is ticking pretty quick, and it's. I hope it doesn't get to the point to where it's going to say, okay, we missed the deadline, so now what are we going to do?
Yeah.
You know, so as a race fan and as an employee and as a career person in this, you know, I feel like I have a vested interest too, and I'm just hoping, you know, I just hear the dribble down, the trickle down, like, okay, this is happening, that's happening, and I really don't know I wouldn't know who to call if I thought I could.
Well, speaking of getting older and time dwindling down, Martin Truex Jr. will retire at the end of the season. He's a 2017 champion of the sport. Just talk a little bit about his legacy that he's going to leave, I would think, a Hall of Famer at some point.
Oh, I think that's for sure. He's got to be a leading candidate in time due. You know, he's done enough. He's accomplished enough. He's won a championship. I mean, he's been in the top mix of drivers in the Cup Series, the top series of stock car racing in the world for many, many years now. And I think he deserves that respect to say, yes, Martin Truex Jr.'s name needs to be in the Hall of Fame. In due time. I think that his retirement, I think I'm not surprised. I think it probably, the timing is probably perfect in his eyes, apparently. I think he stood through another 1-year contract or another 1 year of racing, a couple, 3 times at least, when he was thinking about retiring. And he's probably scratched that itch enough. And he probably thinking, you know what, if I go another year after this, it's going to get to be just a job. And I think guys like Kevin Harvick have been the example. Kevin Harvick still drives a race car. There's no doubt about that. But he knew things were coming. I mean, he was getting older. You got things like eyesight, things like that are, makes it harder, makes it more difficult to be competitive every week. And I think Truex probably sees this coming and he says, I don't want to be the guy riding around in the back. With all these younger guys coming along, and it's harder and harder and harder. And to prepare for these races, there's a lot of simulation, and most of the older guys don't want to do it. Probably he doesn't either, I don't know. But he's probably saying, you know what, it's time. And
well, it's interesting you mentioned, I don't want to be the guy driving around in the back, because one of the saddest things for me when I first came into the sport was to see champions like Bobby Labonte and really good car drivers like Ward Burton driving inferior equipment around in the back just to keep going.
Just to keep going. I would to add on to that, I was raised a Richard Petty fan. When I was a kid, I saw that Richard Petty blue the first time when I was not even 10 years old at Bristol, and I said, that's my car. I still believe he's the best, the most influential, most positive one person in the history of NASCAR. But I remember, I'm pretty sure this is correct, the first time he missed a race, the first time he didn't qualify was right down here at Bristol, and it was late 80s. And I'll be honest with you, I about cried. I mean, it just broke my heart to see that. And I'm thinking, this can't be happening, And then he struggled the rest of his career. He still did some good. He still was competitive some, but most time, Darrell Waltrip was the same way. I hated seeing these guys prolong a little bit, and I know why. It's really a lot of them. It's kind of like, well, I don't know nothing else to do.
Right. What else do I do?
What else do I do? This is what I enjoy. This is my life. This is what I do when I get up in the morning. This is what I'm going to do. But I just hate watching it. And I'm glad that Truex. I'm going to say that he has made his decision for the right reasons, with the right circumstances. He feels like it's the time. He's telling everybody now, so though it's okay, they're not going to be speculating, at the end of the season, who's going to do this, who's going to do that. They can start making plans, and he can start looking forward to like, okay, I'm not going to be in this rat race next year. And, good for him. Good for him. He's had a great career. He's a great driver. He's had a great career. He's been a good ambassador. And I wish him luck with everything he does. Don't count him out of he's going to be competitive the rest of the year. Don't count him out to win another couple of races.
The NASCAR Cup Series will take on Iowa for the first time ever. The lower series have been there before.
Yes.
But not in the Cup car. So what in the world will we expect this weekend?
I don't know. And I think right now, Heather, there's probably a lot of crew chiefs, race engineers, drivers, everybody thinking, okay, what exact question? What do we expect this weekend? They've done a little bit of paving, patching, so on and so forth to a racetrack that was pretty bumpy, pretty worn out, pretty rough, pretty hard to get a hold of, for the Truck Series and the Xfinity Series. They had some great races there. A lot of the drivers love the racetrack. They love the character of it. There are a good number of Cup drivers that have run Xfinity cars and trucks there. So it's not going to be a complete shock to them. But I don't know that anybody really has a handle on what the track is actually going to be like during the race and how much, I'm sure, well, Dave Dirks is not here again to tell us, but I'm sure that, it's probably going to be pretty hot and probably a little slick, and it's going to have a hard time finding grip. I'm sure Goodyear will go with some type of very conservative tire that won't have tire problems. So, it's probably going to be hard to find grip. And I don't know. I think it'll be very interesting to see what's going on. I think there'll be a lot of dice rolling on tire wear, tire longevity, which means there'll be different pit strategies. I'll be interested to see how many people will be in the stands, because always when I was there, Iowa was one of the places that the fan turnout and the enthusiasm of the spectators was very high. So I hope so for this weekend.
I guess I'll start with this, Ryan. Sonoma, top 10 out of the thing. What did you think about your performance, and how was the new surface on the track?
Yeah, I thought, we put together a pretty good day, and really a solid weekend overall, being really good in practice, qualifying third. I thought we had top 3 speed in the race. Just kind of got jumbled up on some pit strategy stuff, and then had to fight our way from the back, and luckily ended up 7th. So much needed kind of smooth weekend compared to, the last month or so, with not finishing a couple of them, and being in a good spot to win at Gateway, and just, coming up short. And so it was much needed to just go out and have a solid race, and perform like we know we can, and nothing really go wrong for us. So that was nice. I think everybody needed that. So proud of that effort, and hopefully we learned a lot of stuff for future road courses. I think that's really important.
There's been a lot of jokes in the past about, in order to win a championship, having half luck. The whole thing was about Jimmy and the Golden Horseshoe and all that. Do you feel like maybe a little bit this year you're paying back the luck that you had last year that helped you get the position? I mean, I know there's performance, but you don't have these unlucky things happen when you have a championship. Do you feel like maybe the racing gods are getting back at you a little bit?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, there's ups and downs in anything, and it's just riding the wave, I mean, good or bad. I feel like you just got to kind of ride the wave. And when things aren't going your way, if it's things that are in your control, and they don't go your way and something happens, all right, well, let's fix them. What went wrong? How can we be better and move forward? But then things you can't control, it's like, well, there's nothing you can do about that, so things we've just kind of set on our team is just do the best job that you can, and do your job to the best of your ability. And that's all you can ask for, and if things fall your way, great. At least you knew you did everything you could. And, hey, if we struggled in some areas, if I struggle kind of getting my hands around the racetrack one weekend, I need to be better. I do the best I can at learning. And it's the same way with everyone on our group, just always trying to improve and perfect their craft. So, yeah, a couple things that, gosh, didn't go right, through the month of May, start of June. But I try to always look at the positives of, hey, we were running really good at Gateway, had a great shot to win. That's a positive for our team of having that speed and pace to go lead laps and have a shot at winning the race. And Darlington and Charlotte, just some things happening that just really wasn't our control, So I just try to look at it as just everyone try to get better as a group and prepare yourself, for the summer months because we have a lot of tough races coming up.
Does it make you feel better to know that you can have this bad luck and still be right in the thick of this? I mean, you guys are not fighting for a playoff spot like some high name drivers are. One of your teammates is back there fighting for one. So, I mean, it's got to make you feel good from that perspective.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, obviously I would have liked to have had a win in a bank and not have to, stress about the points. Not that we're stressing about the points, but we did lose a lot, from Darlington, Charlotte, had a really good day going up Gateway, even though if we didn't win the race, like still we finished 24th, so it's like, gosh, the points, it kind of started biting our nails a little bit before Sonoma. Like, man, we've lost 60 points in the last 3 weeks, so that just kind of makes you a little nervous of, man, you can't really afford some mistakes. But like I said, we got on the right track, and I don't look at points too much. We're fortunately in a decent spot right now. You're never comfortable if you don't win, but we're in an okay spot, and just try to keep performing like we know we can. And I think that stuff will figure itself out.
Do you feel like Ford's figured out the kind of bumpy start to the season? Because, gosh, now I feel like Ford is, won 3 of the last 5 races or something like that?
Yeah, I really think we've made a big gain. No secret that we were struggling a little bit at the start of the year. All the Fords were, and we've done a good job kind of as a whole group of getting better. And RFK showed some speed there for a while. Brad winning Darlington, Joey winning Wilkesboro, Austin winning Gateway, having really all 3 of our cars running top 5 there at the end of that race. I do think, and us putting together a fast weekend, this weekend, having top 3 speed, I thought. So I think we're getting the hang of it. It takes time. I wish it happens faster. I mean, everything you wish you want it now, and you want it to be better right away, but you just try to be patient with that stuff and understand the process and just do the work. And so yeah, I think we're getting the hang of it. Hopefully Iowa is another good showing for us. So we'll see. But yeah, proud of the effort of everybody of bearing down and kind of, like I said before, just riding the wave of, hey, things aren't really where we want them to be as far as speed wise, but let's just keep working at it. That's all you can do. And I think we're gaining on it.
How do you approach Iowa? I mean, it seems like such a big wild card with Cup cars not really being out there other than a couple of tests.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know what to expect, honestly. I mean, I raced there 10 years ago in an Xfinity car, and obviously they've repaved half of it now. So we'll see, but I think everyone is in the same boat as far as, there's been a test or two out there. Everyone kind of has that information, but a lot of the drivers really haven't been there. And even if they have been there, it's way different than what they experienced, in the past. So we'll see. Got a lot of practice there. Well, a lot for our standards nowadays, which is nice, and have a little bit to work under stuff and see where we're at. But I like the area a lot. I'm excited it gets a Cup race. That place is a lot of fun. My mother's from out there, so a lot of family in that area. So I look forward to it this weekend.
One final question I have for you. This season, as the defending champ, do you still even think about that, or are you just focused on trying to get that next championship now?
It kind of comes in waves. A lot of these places we're going to for the first time since last year. A lot of fans who are local to those areas, maybe it's their first race of the year. Haven't seen them since last year. So it's nice to kind of get that congrats from fans who haven't seen me yet at the track. Kind of get that congratulations. It's nice. That's kind of a weekly basis, so that part's always nice. It just kind of makes you feel good, makes you think back on the past. I try not to live in the past, but those good things, good memories, I think they're nice. And so that part's good. I really enjoy the fan aspect of that. I appreciate all the support that they've given me through all the years, but especially the first half of this year, it's been nice. So but now, I mean, internally we're focused on how do we do it again. That's the tough part. That's the burden we're faced with now. It's a fortunate burden to be faced with of how do you do this again. But I think we're in a good spot as a group. I think we're even better than where we were last year internally, as far as how we're kind of looking at things and approaching things, which is great. And just building confidence with, you're within your group and your team is always good, and when you can do something special, like winning a championship the year before, you understand how to do it, and you understand what needs to take place and how hard you have to work. And I think that has been really nice for our group. All of my guys that they put the work in and they accomplish something, and they understand it. And now it's how do you keep doing that? How do you replicate that?
I lied a little bit because you did say something I didn't want to follow up on real quick. You mentioned confidence. Are you more confident? Because you seem more confident now that you have that championship under your belt.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a very confident person by nature, and that's just been my, personality for ever since I was a kid. And it takes a lot to kind of get me, confident and stuff like that. But I think when you do accomplish something like that, not just me, it's our whole team. Like, I think Ricky Craven said it. He's like, there's a big difference between thinking you can do it and knowing you can do it, and everyone thinks that they can go out and win championships and win races, but until you do it and you can do it, it's like a whole nother mindset shift, I feel like. And I feel like our whole group has brought that to the racetrack every single week, and they should be proud of that. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment. They did a great job, and it was neat for me to be a part of it. And everyone contribute to their role, and everyone had a huge piece of it. So I think that goes for the whole 12 team as far as confidence and keeping your head up and understanding what it takes to do it. I think that's beneficial for our group.
So for my final thought, I want to talk about NASCAR's return / first ever trip, because they have been there in other series, to the Iowa Speedway and racing in the Midwest more specifically. When I talked to Chase Briscoe earlier this week, he talked about it. St. Louis, Iowa, Kansas City. Those are, and I grew up in Kansas City, untapped racing hotbeds, if you will. When I lived in Western Kansas before I moved back out here to Tennessee, there was a racetrack in every small town. Every tiny town had a racetrack. La Crosse, Waukene, Hayes, Colby, Goodland. They all had racetracks, and they all had racing every week in the summertime. It's what you did. And so I'm really happy to see NASCAR kind of put more tracks in the Midwest. I know that Midwest is kind of considered flyover country. You know, you take Kansas City, St. Louis, I guess some people consider Chicago, Detroit, although I consider those more upper length. But if you take those cities out, there's a lot more land than there are people. But where there are people, there are definitely race fans. So to see them get rewarded for all of their dedication to the sport, to put a race in a place like Iowa, which supports IndyCar like crazy. It's outside of Indianapolis. It is the hot spot for oval racing in IndyCar, probably the entire season. So to see them rewarded with a NASCAR race is really exciting for them. It's really exciting for as a Midwesterner. If I was living back in Kansas City, Des Moines, like, I don't know, 2.5, 3 hours from Kansas City, that would be an easy trip to take in addition to the trip to Kansas City or St. Louis, which is about 4 hours. Now the folks in the Midwest who have been so loyal and so supportive of racing are actually getting to be rewarded with that with the race. I hope this works out this weekend. I hope it's a great race. I hope there's a great crowd. I hope the weather cooperates, because us Midwest racing fans, we deserve it, if I'm just being kind of blunt there. Thanks for joining us on the Backstretch. We'll see you next week.